Segal. I just want you to know I was backstage clapping and I never got it right once. We're gonna do something special now. Oh yeah. Where we're not gonna leave. Special, annoying, tomato. This one's called Burning Love. About 2 months after we met, I said to my future wife, I think we should live together. I bet you do, little man, Beth said. Well, the little man was not spoken aloud, but still, all men within a 10-mile radius reflexively flinched as the shockwave hit them. Well, I've played house before, she went on, and never again, not without a real commitment. Then her side-mounted eye lasers burned off my hair. But I didn't want to play house. I wanted to spend every possible moment with this beguiling woman. Plus, I wanted to stop paying rent in my one-bedroom duplex for the sole benefit of my 2 cats. Beth was deathly allergic to them and couldn't even enter my place, so I had largely ceased to live there. Every day, well, okay, every other day, every third day, I would return to my apartment in the mid-morning to face questioning, sad looks from my cats. Where you been, man? They seemed to say. Is it us? Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy because of you. I would assure the cats that there was nothing wrong, and then I'd slink back to the house where Beth rented a bedroom. Once I came home close to lunch and the cats were lint rolling their own hair off the couch. Whatever it takes, they seemed to say. This did not actually happen, of course. In reality, they were only able to bat the lint roller around fruitlessly with their non-prehensile paws. But I sensed their intent. Then, just 2 weeks after my cohabitation proposal was shot down, Beth and I got in our cars after a night out and agreed, as per usual, to meet back at her house. I fleetingly thought of my cats. Maybe I'd bring them some flowers, or a small dead rodent. Tomorrow. I was at the far end of Beth's block before I realized I must have driven past her house. This seems strange, but I am absent-minded and easily distracted, so I just turned around and went back. I missed it again. I turned around to make a third trip down the block, a slower pass, counting off the house numbers. Her house, as it turns out, was still there. The reason I hadn't noticed it was because all the lights were out, and the usually yellow house was now black. I parked, walked up to the door, and noticed that somebody, perhaps as an art project, had decided to toss most of the first-floor furniture through the smashed windows and onto the lawn, where the various pieces had melted, chair or sofa or table-shaped holes in the snow. I walked carefully through the broken front door. The house looked as if every surface had been spray-painted black by a group of efficient but unimaginative graffiti artists. As it turned out, Beth had returned home herself moments before to discover that her housemate had been stripping paint with steel wool and flammable solvent, and had set off a spark. I eventually found her in the house next door, where she was trying to comfort her housemate, who was unharmed but rocking in place, in the manner of Job. This, of course, was my chance. "You're coming with me," I said. Since her own bed was now merrily glowing red on the inside like one of those electric fake fireplace logs, she agreed. I drove the still stunned Beth over to my apartment and left her waiting in the car for a moment while I shooed the cats into the back stairway. Eventually, I ushered Beth up and she changed into some of my old sweatpants, climbed into my bed and concentrated on trying to breathe. And there, with occasional changes of clothing and posture, she has remained ever since. And when we kiss, ooh, fire. Our daughters love this story, because to them there's nothing more romantic than a guy rescuing his inamorata from a burning building. They like to invite their grammar school boyfriends over and have me light a match so they can reject anyone who flinches. The cats cats, meanwhile, were adopted by the woman who lived downstairs. She took a 1960s commune approach to cat ownership, meaning they were allowed to roam wherever they liked, and most often they roamed up the stairs back to my apartment, where they would scratch at the back door and sing, "And I'm Telling You I'm Not Going" from Dreamgirls. Despite what you might think, I honestly had nothing to do with the fire. It was, like many turning points in many life stories, merely random chance. But even on the scale of interventions of fate, it was pretty dramatic. I ask a woman to live with me, she says no. A short time later, her house spontaneously combusts. With that example, I have taken a more accepting, passive approach to achieving my desires in life. If somebody refuses a request, or if things don't work out the way I had desired, I don't argue. I sit back, and I wait for something to explode.